What would you do if your mother was
My
sick
child,
and before she
there's
took
a
her
door you
last
must
breath,
never
she
open.
told you about a letter she kept secret for years, look you in the eyes and warn you, don't open it. If you do, it will destroy your life. What would you do? Would you obey her final wish out of respect or succumb to the curiosity? As for
What
me,
are these
I
photos?
chose
Why
to
is Uncle
open
Kwame
it,
holding me
and
as a
now
baby?
I'm living in a
Let
reality
me
I
explain.
can't escape.
I am your
Hi, lovely people. Welcome back to Sem Diary. I have a really powerful story to share with you today. Let's get straight to it. Hi, Sem. Please keep me anonymous. I am trembling as I type this. I'm only 14, but I feel like a heavy stone is crushing my heart, making it difficult to breathe. My mother passed away last year. She wasn't perfect, but she was my entire world. She raised me mostly on her own and was always incredibly protective. She used to say, "In this life, be careful, my child. People can smile at you while their hearts are full of hate." I thought she was just being cynical, but now I realize she was speaking from deep, dark experience. On the day she passed away, I realized the hospital room was cold. I was sitting in a chair beside her. All of a sudden, she called me close, her voice like a mere whisper. Her hand felt like ice against mine. That's when she spoke the words that will haunt me. "My child," she said, coughing weakly, "when I'm gone, you will find a brown envelope hidden in the lining of my old suitcase. Please promise
If you
me,"
read it,
still coughing,
you
"promise
will
me
stop
you will
trusting
never
everyone.
open it." I almost laughed because it sounded like a movie plot. But when I look at her, her eyes were burning with desperate seriousness and her lips were trembling. "Mommy, why?
Mommy, what could
What's
be so
inside the
terrible inside
envelope
that
that could
letter?
be so bad?" I asked, my heart racing. She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "If you open
If
it,
you read
will
it,
stop trusting
you will stop
everyone
trusting
and even
everyone.
grow to hate yourself. Just promise me you will burn it without looking, my child." I gave her my words
Okay, Mommy,
just to
I
give her
promise.
peace in her final moment. But Sam, deep down, I knew I couldn't keep that promise. I sat beside my mother in the hospital and watched her leave me alone in this lonely world. That experience is something I can never forget. I cried, screamed, and wished it was all a dream. You won't understand until you lose a loved one. After the burial, the house fell into a deep silence. It was a heavy silence that made the ticking of the clock sound like a heartbeat and forced me to confront my own thoughts. Sleep was far from me.
What was
I
in
was
that letter?
always thinking. One afternoon, I reluctantly began cleaning out my mother's room, a task I had avoided for weeks. There, tucked away in the back of the
What is this
closet,
old
I found
suitcase?
the suitcase my
you were
mother
never to find
talked
that.
about. It was old and covered in a thick layer of dust. My hands trembled before I even touched the zipper. I recalled a voice, "Bennett," but the human mind is a treacherous thing. It urged me to just pick. Just one look won't hurt, I told myself. I deserve to know my family's secrets. I pulled out the brown envelope, feeling its weight like lead. I held it tightly with a sharp intake of breath. I tore it open. My heart was beating so fast, but yet I was curious. Inside were
What are these
pictures.
photos? Why is Uncle
Initially,
Kwame holding
I
me
was
as a baby?
confused. They were old
Please
photos
let me
of my
explain.
mother
I am
smiling
your
and
father,
laughing
Amma.
with
I
a
raised
man.
you.
As I
That is
flipped
what
through
matters.
them, my stomach chunked with a slow, nauseatic sensation. It wasn't just any man. It was my uncle, my father's brother. I tried to convince myself it was a mistake. Perhaps they were just close friends. Maybe it was a joke. But then I reached the bottom of the envelope and found a folded piece of paper. It was a DNA test result from years ago, clearly showing my name. The biological makers didn't lie. My uncle was actually my biological father. I dropped the paper as if I had burned my skin. My breath came in rag gaps. My hair spun so violently, I had to slide down to the floor where I sat, sobbing like a helpless child. Every memory I had was suddenly rewritten. The man I had called Dad all those years, the man who was always cool to me, who never gave me hugs, who looked at me with a strange distance in his eyes. So he knew. I found a second letter inside, written in my mother's shaking handwriting. It read, "My child, I was young and I was foolish. I made a mistake that I have carried every day of my life. When I became pregnant, your uncle begged me to keep it a secret. He was terrified it would shatter the family and destroy his reputation. I agreed because I was afraid of being alone." She continued, explaining the tragedy of my upbringing. "Your dad accepted you because he loved me, but he could never truly forgive me. Every time he looked at your face, he saw his brother's betrayal. That is why he was always a stranger to you, even in the same house." The pieces of my broken childhood finally fit together. The lack of "I love yous," the tension at every family dinner, the way my father stayed late at work just to avoid being near me. I wasn't his daughter. I was a living reminder of his wife's infidelity and his brother's knife in his back. The very next day, my uncle, the man who is actually my father, came to the house to comfort us. He sat on our sofa, sipping tea as if he hadn't spent 24 years living a massive lie. He even reached out and patted my shoulder, offering his condolences. I looked at him and felt a scream building in my chest. I wanted to shout, "You are my father. How could you watch me grow up calling you uncle?" But my throat was dry. My mouth refused to move. The weight of the secret felt like it was choking me. That night, I went to my mother's grave. I stood there in the dark and wept until I had no tears left. I asked her, "Why did you do this to me? Why leave me with this burden?" But deep down, I finally understood. She wanted to protect me. She knew that if I grew up with this truth, it would crush my spirit before I ever had a chance to become an adult. She wanted me to have a family, even if that family was built on a foundation of lies. By opening that letter, I didn't find freedom. I found a prison. I haven't comforted anyone yet. I'm polarized. If I speak the truth, I will tear my entirely extended family apart. If I remain silent, the pressure in my heart will continuously shatter me. Now, I understand why she told me to burn it. Because some truths don't set you free. They just set your world on fire. This is a heavy one. What would you do if you were in her shoes? Would you
did what we thought was best,
the uncle,
Your
or
uncle is
take
your real
this
father,
secret to
forgive
your
him.
It was for
grave?
your
If
mother's
you
sake.
enjoyed today's
Don't
story,
be angry.
then don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out anytime I post interesting stories like this right here on Sem Diary. Don't forget to also check out my other video. He called me his wife but married another woman. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.